Hello Internet, my name is the Golden Stalfos, and today I want to talk about what happened to superhero movies and why they kind of all suck now. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still occasionally a good one, right? Like, sometimes Marvel will let something break out of its formula enough to be good instead of just another Marvel movie, but not super frequently, right? Like, yesterday I went to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and it was just another fucking Marvel movie. Like, it was fine. They spend 90% of the plot chasing a MacGuffin that gets destroyed and not used, so thanks for wasting our time. The villain is defeated by a random out-of-nowhere power-up followed by their own conscience coming to surface, even though lots of people were already trying to address their conscience several times before this, so I don't know why this suddenly made a difference. And there was a token lesbian couple that died the second they were introduced and will definitely be cut from the Chinese release of the film because Marvel is nothing if not Disney. And then at the end, the first credit was Sam Raimi directed it. The same Sam Raimi who made the good Spider-Man movies. What the hell? How could Sam Raimi make just another Marvel movie? I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't all bad. You know, it's a Marvel movie. There's good action, good acting, some decent jokes. You know, it's a Marvel movie. But it didn't feel at all like a Sam Raimi movie. I was surprised when I saw his name on the credits. And just makes me think, how do we get here? How do we end up in this spot? Did you know there are some people who still want Snyder to be back in charge of the DC-verse? It's like they didn't see any of his movies and don't understand why they're bad. You know, and recently they made a different person in charge of a new Batman reboot, but it's still dark, gritty Batman. I haven't even gone to see it because I don't want to see any more dark, gritty Batman. I'm done with that. Can we get some more Adam West style Batman, please? Like, can we get superheroes that are fun and interesting and silly like they're supposed to be, please? Maybe? You know, and it just makes me wonder what happened, right? Like, when I was growing up, superhero movies were not like this. They weren't all over the place. There were a handful produced every now and then, you know. There was a good series of Superman movies with Christopher Reeves. There was a contiguous series of Batman films that kept switching out the lead actor for reasons. I think those came out a little bit before my time, but I grew up watching them on VHS, so whatever. And there was the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, which were incredible. You know, just an excellent character-driven narrative about, like, real human problems, and then also Spider-Man stuff happens, and it's wonderful. Third one got a little bit lost in the weeds. There were too many villains in that movie, and the Venom thing was presented weird. It was not presented well. But, I mean, you could see a good movie hiding behind that stuff. Like, it could have been good if they just, like, got out of their own way and, like, removed some of the cringe and some of the extra villain shit, but whatever. You know, and that was basically how superhero movies had been for a long time. Every once in a while, they'd make something out of a popular character. You know, they made 2 Hulk movies in the early 2000s, and I thought they were good because they clearly demonstrated what kind of thing the Hulk is and how his stories go, but everyone else seemed to think Oonga Boonga Smash was not a good premise for a movie. But I mean, what the fuck else did you expect when you went to a Hulk movie? And then, of course, if you go back to when comic books were relatively new, you know, Golden Age, Silver Age, that kind of thing, all of the extra media around comic books was of the same tone. Like, there were radio shows and there were TV shows and shit. It was all just like the Adam West Batman, which is great. Like, I wish they would bring that back and have silly, fun adventures with the silly, fun characters. Like, Batman has villains like the Riddler. Like, you can't have a serious, grimy, beat-up fight with the Riddler. He's a fucking joke. He got played by Jim Carrey in that one movie, and it was brilliant. That was the best casting choice they could have made. Oh, the CGI in that movie has aged so poorly. It's wonderful. I love it. Actually, to me, that is like one of the best Batman movies ever made because it just gets everything right. Like, yes, it's stupid that there are nipples on his plastic outfit, but you know what? It's a good kind of stupid. It's the kind of stupid superhero movies should have. Yeah, it's a little bit dumb that he has a credit card that's themed after him, but also his superpower is being rich, and, like, it makes sense that he's rich and uses his wealth to pay for the damages that his villains cause. Like, that, yeah, Yeah, that makes sense. And I think the really big problem came from the fact that Warner Brothers owned DC and then Disney bought Marvel, right? Like, there's bad blood between those companies and they really don't want to do the same thing as each other. So when Disney started making Disney-esque Marvel movies and making a profit on it because it's Disney, Warner Brothers were like, man, we can't let this go on. We have to do something completely different. And so they hired Zack Snyder to make all of their Superman movies. Because why? Like, I guess 300 was good, and I guess Watchmen was good, but like, everything after that was just so bad. And also, those stories only work with a Snyder direction because they fit into his worldview and his like shitty approach to violence, right? Like, I mean, even Watchmen, like you could argue, is a little bit messed up by his directing because he kind of glorifies the violence instead of displaying how like shitty and fucked up it is. I mean, the original message kind of comes across anyway. So, you know, on one side, you've got Disney making safe movies. Some of them are better than others, but they're all trying to play as safe a formula as they can. And they keep refining that formula down movie after movie until everything is just very homogenous. But every once in a while, they're like in the middle of directing too many different things. So they let the director have a little bit of leeway with what they do. And it ends up being actually good. Like with Guardians of the Galaxy. It follows a very similar plot structure to every other Marvel movie, but the director had fun with it. The actors had fun with it. They put in a bunch of fun music and fun jokes, and it was good. Gee, imagine that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not entirely against the darker anti-heroes having darker films, right? Like, I enjoyed Blade for what it is, and I think if you want to have darker movies, you can have characters like Blade, Punisher, Lobos, you know, you can make films about them. Spawn, right? Like, there are plenty of dark, fucked up characters you can draw on if you want to make a movie like that. But, like, one, you gotta pick someone that people have heard of. No one has fucking heard of Morbius. Even people who read comics haven't heard of fucking Morbius. Jesus Christ. Like, I legitimately would have expected to see a Marvel movie about Marvel's Krampus before fucking Morbius. But ultimately, it's not just that the stories are darker than they should be with characters that, you know. And it's not just that Marvel is too formulaic. It's also that they're afraid of doing the things that the comics have already proven are good. Right? Like, the most recent Spider-Man movie just kind of retools the Spider-Man thread from the Civil War comics, where Aunt May dies and he makes a deal with Mephisto to rewind time and shit. They just kind of retooled that and made Doctor Strange the one who did all the shit because they didn't want to introduce Mephisto. And that was the best Spider-Man movie that Sony has made in years. Like, by a lot. In fact, I would argue it is the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. But, you know, kind of along that same vein, there are lots of things that have been done in the comics or in animated series or animated films, but movies just are afraid to do it. How many different Superman villains have you seen on the big screen? You've seen Lex Luthor, Zod, and Doomsday. And that's about it. Well, why can't we get a fucking Brainiac movie, huh? Why can't we see Superman fight Brainiac? Why are you afraid of that? Why can't we have fun with life? Why can't we get a Batman movie where he fights Black Mask? What's wrong with Black Mask? Is he not intimidating enough for you? We've gotten multiple attempts at the Penguin and the Joker and the Riddler, but no Black Mask. Why? Why have we not seen a fucking Spider-Man movie that features Kingpin? His main villain. What is up with this shit? Where is Kingpin? Why? I mean, he was in Into the Spider-Verse, but that's an animated film, so, you know, it's not as important for some reason. You know, there's just so much good, fun, interesting stuff that could be explored and isn't getting explored because executives haven't paid attention to the source material that they're working off of, and they're just like, well, I don't know, Superman 2 had Zod, so let's bring Zod back. Or no, Zod was in Superman 3. Yeah. One of the two. Or like how it's been like 30 years since Robin has been on screen in like live action. More than that even. Why? Like, there was a moment during the third Batman movie, the Christian Bale one, where you thought, oh, this guy's going to become Robin, even though he's way too old, but whatever. But then he doesn't. You know, he's just a police officer who gets a weird amount of screen time because... Also, now that Sony knows that people are willing to get into the Spider-Verse and that people don't mind having multiple Spider-Men in the same movie and stuff, why don't they make any of the other Spider-Man stories? Where is Miles? Where's the 2099 dude? Why? You know, even just going off of these two companies, there's so much unexplored shit that would make great movies, and they just haven't. And they just don't care, and they're just not interested, and I don't understand why. I just don't understand why. But yeah, I don't know. I wish that these movies would do something more interesting and not just follow this formula that Disney has set up, or just throw themselves directly in the trash like Warner Brothers has been doing for years. Like, can you believe that people saw Justice League and saw how bad it was and were like, a 4.5-hour version of this that takes out all of the good parts would be so much better. What the fuck is wrong with you? Genuine question. What the fuck is wrong with you? So yeah, internet weirdo gripes about comic books. Whatever. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next live. Laters. Hey, Endcard here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Like, seriously though, please subscribe. I have no subscribers. It's sad. If you want to find me on other social media stuff, you can do that at the Golden Stalfos on basically everything. Links to that are in the description, as well as to some charities I like but am obviously not affiliated with. I also have a Patreon if you like me so much that you want to give me money, though obviously only do that if you have money to burn, and if you do have money to burn, they're the charities I mentioned before. They probably need it more than I do. Mad ups to my girlfriend for doing all the editing for these videos. It's a really big help. Oh, and I occasionally stream on Twitch, so follow me there so you don't miss it. I don't have a formal schedule because when I tried to have a formal schedule, I couldn't keep to it. So, oh well. Okay, thanks, bye!